Good morning. The November 17th meeting of the Carter County Commission is now in session. I respectfully request that all commissioners and members of the audience to please turn off your cell phones at this time. Commissioners, if you wish to speak at any time during the meeting, please stand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Only one person will be recognized to speak at any given time. Any discussion must pertain only to the motion or the issue that's on the floor and under consideration at that time. Going off on irrelevant topics is not in order. And also, thorough debate of the issues is always encouraged. However, personal attacks will not be tolerated by the chair. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Willie Campbell. Jerry Crawford. Here. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Present.
Al Meehan.
Here.
Beth Depew. Ronnie Cribbett.
Here.
Charles Fontana.
Present.
Elsie Tester.
Here.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Here.
Danny Ward.
Present.
Ross Garland.
Here.
Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Present. Randall Jenkins. Here. Larry Miller.
Here.
John Lewis.
Here.
Ray Lyons.
Here.
Sonia Coler. Present. Scott Stanley.
Present.
Cody McQueen.
Here.
Robert Carroll.
Here.
And Robert Gobble.
Here.
Quorum present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, Mr. Willie Campbell will lead us in the opening prayer. Also, immediately thereafter, Mr. Robert Gobble will lead us in the pledge to the flag. So please stand and remain standing.
Dear Heavenly Father God, as we bow our heads this morning, Lord, and approach your throne of grace, Lord, thank you for another day, Lord, that you've given us. Lord, we pray today, Lord, that you guide us, Lord, and lead us, Lord, through this meeting, that we'll do your will. And God, we do pray, Lord, for our country this morning. Lord, we pray for our servicemen and women. God, we pray for each one, Lord, that's in the government. Lord, we pray, God, that you watch over them that holds office. Lord, we can never praise you enough, Lord, for what you've done for each one of us. God, we ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would ask that all veterans in the audience please stand, or in the commission. You know, if it weren't for these people and those like them, those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, we wouldn't have the opportunity to be here today. So if you would please help me in giving these folks a very generous. Also, if the elected and appointed officials would please stand for recognition, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Dean Clerk. At this time, we will go to the public comments section of the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission? Anyone like to address the commission? Not seeing anyone, we'll move on. You each have a copy of the commission meeting minutes from last month's meeting. I'm certain you've had an opportunity to review those. The chair will entertain a motion to accept at this time. Have a motion made by Mr. Lewis. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Grindstaff. All in favor? Respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise.
Mr. Mayor, could we have discussion?
Okay. We've already approved them.
I didn't find one. This only proves that I've read everything. On page 542, Mary Ann Patton, where it says near the bottom, motion made to Ron Tripp. Mary Ann Patton, I respectfully submit that Mary is spelled M-A-R-Y rather than M-A-R-R-Y. Please don't get on me for this, because this is the only thing an old man lives for, looking for this spelling in commission meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Von Cannon. We appreciate your thorough review of the minutes. This time, Madam Clerk, you would please read the notary of bonds.
Janet Webb, Henry Biglow, Carol Hazelwood, Bobby Johnson, Louis Feaster, Luana Collins, William Blevins, Judy Orr, Janet R. Blevins, Patsy H. Lewis, Barry Taylor, David Jensen, Greg Lerner, Janice McKinney, Michelle Hychu, Bill Catcher, Craig Shields, and add Deborah Wonder Hinkle.
Motion to accept. Okay, accept. Motion by Mr. Culler, second by Mr. Jenkins. All those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record show that you're approved. Okay, at this time we'll move on to resolutions. The first being U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis Memorial Bridge. And in support of that, we have with us today three gentlemen. Mr. Randy Lingerfeld with the Veterans Administration. We have Mr. Richard Jarfly Duggar and Mr. Jerry Campbell. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to support this resolution. Mr. Attorney, would you please review the resolution?
Let me read the entire resolution.
Is there a motion to,
I so move that we forego reading this resolution.
okay, have a motion made by Mr. Trivett? Is there a second? Second by Mr. Lyons. All in favor that we forego the reading, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Let the record show it was approved. Okay. Now, do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I so move.
A second.
Had a motion made by Mr. Ward, second by, was that Mr. Prophet? Any discussion on the resolution? Resolution honoring the service of the United States Army Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis and designating the bridge spanning Buffalo Creek located on State Route 359 in the Happy Valley community of Carter County as the Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis Memorial Bridge. Any discussion?
You know, I think that, and I voted to waive the reading of this, but I think in respect to what this did, this resolution probably should have been read.
I'll be happy to read it.
If you would, please, all commissioners, try to use the mic so that everyone in the audience will be able to understand. Mr. Carroll, could you go ahead and repeat that with the mic, sir?
I said I voted to waive the reading of this resolution, but I had second thought. I'm not so sure it would be a good idea to read it to honor this guy.
I totally agree. What's the wishes of the commission?
I'd like to make a motion that we read the referendum.
Motion made by Mr. Hill, second by Ms. Brown. All in favor of reading the resolution to clearly honor the individual recognized therein, respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Hart, if you would please read the resolution.
Yes, sir. This is a resolution honoring the service of United States Army Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis and designating the bridge spanning Buffalo Creek located on State Route 359 in the Happy Valley community of Carter County as the Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis Memorial Bridge. Whereas Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis served with distinction as a member of the Company D, 2nd Battalion, 12th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division in the United States Army during the Vietnam War, and whereas on January 3rd, 1968, Staff Sergeant Ellis's unit came under heavy mortar and small arms attack by the Viet Cong while performing operations at a landing zone. Although he was presumed killed in action, after the conclusion of the attack, his body was never recovered. He was subsequently officially declared missing in action by the United States government. And whereas due to these circumstances, the family of Staff Sergeant Ellis never obtained any definitive answers or closure regarding his death or disappearance. Unfortunately, Betty Ellis, Staff Sergeant Ellis's mother, passed away never knowing exactly what fate befell her son. And whereas Staff Sergeant Ellis gave the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country, and he served with honor while defending our freedom and our way of life so that we could continue to live in peace here at home. And whereas Staff Sergeant Ellis was a native of Carter County, having been born and raised in the Happy Valley community of Carter County and graduating from Happy Valley High School. And whereas the County Commission of Carter County would like to formally recognize and honor the service made by Staff Sergeant Ellis by adopting this resolution in his honor and requesting the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation to officially designate the bridge on State Route 359 spanning Buffalo Creek, located just below Happy Valley High School in the Happy Valley community of Carter County, as the Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis Memorial Bridge. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this the 17th day of November 2014, with the lawful quorum of said commission being present and with the majority voting in the affirmative as follows. That the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee hereby adopts this resolution honoring Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis so that we may always remember the sacrifice he made and the price he paid for the freedom we enjoy today, not only as residents of this county, but also as citizens of this great nation. That the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee hereby respectfully request that the state representatives for Carter County take the appropriate action on behalf of Carter County to ensure that the bridge on State Route 359 spanning Buffalo Creek, located just below Happy Valley High School in the Happy Valley community of Carter County, is officially designated as the Staff Sergeant Billy Joe Ellis Memorial Bridge, and to ensure that said bridge shall always bear the name of Staff Sergeant Ellis, regardless of future necessity for replacement of the bridge. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall take effect from and after the date of its approval, the welfare of the county demanding.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Are there any other comments? We already have the motion been made and seconded. Before I ask the clerk to call the roll. And clerk, call the roll, please.
Richard Peters. Willie Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Beth Depew. Ronnie Crivitt. Ross Cannon. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Bryanstein. Danny Ward. Ross Garner. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Culler. Scott Simmerly. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
22 ayes, motion passes. And we'll go ahead and advance that down, gentlemen, as indicated in the resolution, try to get this thing addressed as early as possible in the spring. Thank you. The next resolution is in recognition of Adoption Awareness Week. It's relatively short, so if the commission doesn't have an objection to the reading, I would ask the attorney to go ahead and read this resolution.
This is a resolution in recognition of adoption awareness and to proclaim the week of November 23rd through November 30th, National Adoption Awareness Week in Carter County. Whereas Carter County, Tennessee recognizes the importance of giving children permanent, safe, and loving families through adoption, and whereas the average age of children in foster care is 9 years old, the average child waits for an adoptive family from 4 to 10 months after termination of parental rights, and annually more than 23,800 children reach the age of 18 without ever finding a forever family. And whereas adopting children from foster care can be virtually free because many agencies do not charge for the services they provide to families who are adopting a child from foster care, and prospective adoptive parents do not have to be rich, married, own a home, or be a certain race or age to adopt. Resources to help potential parents are available at www.nationaladoptionday.org or by calling 1-800-ASK-DFTA. And whereas to help these children find permanent nurturing families, local courts will open their doors on National Adoption Day, Saturday, November 22nd, 2014 at 10 a.m. to finalize the adoptions of local children and join other organizations to celebrate all adoptions. And whereas this effort, along with similar celebrations in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Guam, and Puerto Rico, will offer children the chance to live as stable and loving families and encourage other dedicated individuals to make a powerful difference in the lives of a child through adoption. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Commission of Carter County, Tennessee, meeting in regular session on this, the 17th day of November 2014, with a lawful quorum of said commission being present and with the majority voting in the affirmative, the week of November 23 through 30, 2014 is hereby declared as National Adoption Awareness Week in Carter County, Tennessee, and we urge our fellow citizens to join us in a national effort to raise awareness about the importance of adoption. Be it further resolved, this resolution in its entirety shall become effective from and after its adoption, the welfare of the county demanding, adopted this 17th day of November 2014.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Hear a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ward to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Richard Peters. Jim Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Hugh Ronnie Trivet. Charles Von Buchanan. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Bryanstad. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Sullivan. Scott Zimmerman. Cody McLean. Robert Carroll. Robert Gobble.
22 ayes, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is establishing, resolution for establishing time, date, and place of county commission meetings.
Is that all right?
Mr. Lewis?
This came up last time, and didn't really, who was the one who was here, but I'll make a motion that we go ahead and set all these meetings at 6 o'clock at night.
So you're making a motion to
Yes,
approve
sir.
the resolution. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second by Mr. Miller. Any discussion? Madam Culler?
Yes, I have 4 points to make, and against this. We have older people that like to attend the commission meetings. They may not be able to drive late at night. It does get dark early in the wintertime. That will keep them from attending. This way they can attend every other meeting. We have some people that work nights. I know everybody says this is for people to attend because they work during the day. We also have people that work at night. They can attend every other meeting. This will cost us approximately $4,500 more because we have about 4 or 5 people who will have to be paid to come back at night. If you're a commissioner and you ran for commission, you should have been aware that you would not be able, that you would have to miss work to attend certain meetings. For 2 years, I forfeited money because I missed work, and I didn't want to have 2 paychecks from Carter County. For the last 4 years, I've given up work hours to attend meetings. This is something I decided to do, and you should have also, as a commissioner.
Mr. Meehan?
Yeah, remain seated so that
You can, sir. Yeah, just please speak into the mic. Thank you.
Ms. Caller covered several of the points that I was going to make, that we do have people working shift work, and the commissioners did know when they ran for office. No matter when we have the meetings, some people are going to be disenfranchised. But I think we need to look and see who's the minimum amount that we could. The added cost has been spoken to. The night meetings are more expensive, and For taxpayers over a year of 6 evening meetings, it would be probably in excess of $2,000. Day meetings do provide the commission sometimes with resources that we cannot get at night. If we had to make phone calls to people working in offices, either here in the county or in adjacent government, we could have an adjournment and make contacts to provide resources for information on an issue that we may be dealing with. There are also social and family needs, including families of some of the commissioners. School events and youth club events frequently are held, and more often in the evening, particularly in the summertime, where games and other recreational activities are scheduled. So it would behoove at least 6 months out of the year for these families to be able to see their children or be with them during those times. So I'm speaking against the time. The rest of the resolution, okay with it.
Anyone else? Mr. Von Cannon?
Ever since I've been on commission, 4 years, it's been said that the alternating of meetings followed this pattern. Anything controversial would be conducted during the daytime. Anything easy would be conducted at nighttime. Because the public was not allowed to be here normally in the daytime because they have to work. It's a matter of who we are meeting for as a commission. Are we meeting for the taxpayers of this county, or are we meeting for ourselves? We do know this, that several new commissioners were elected, and they have day jobs, and out of respect for those folks, I think we ought to go to a 6 o'clock in the evening meeting for two things: for the new commissioners, and secondly, for the public, where they could attend at all the meetings. Thank you.
Ms. Brown?
I've been a commissioner for 8 years, and this has been something that's been brought to my attention too. We've had citizens ask, well, I would come to the meeting, but I don't know when the meeting is. Is it a day? Is it a night meeting? So it's confusing to the public. We need some stability here, so they know each month when to and how to make their direction of going to the meetings.
Mr. Miller?
I took a taxi up there, Bill's General Store. I said, folks, I want you to sign how you want us to vote down there. I said, because you guys elected me, you're up here. And I said, do you want it 50-50 every other month, or do you want it 6 o'clock every evening? So the results, more voting for 6 o'clock in the evening they did in the morning. But always, when we want to vote on something, take it to your local store, get the public in and involved. I told them, I said, the next time we have something like this, I'm going to bring your book back and let you folks, because Jim's elected me. This is not a decision I'm going to make, it's what Jim's going to do. So, the decision, most of them want at 6 o'clock at night.
Discussion on the road.
Got a question on the motion?
Question on the motion.
Mr. Meehan?
Is it in order, Mr. Chairman, to make an amendment to the motion?
Not at this time, sir. Any other would want to speak in discussion, but we've got the question. So Madam Clerk, call roll, please. If you're in favor of this resolution as outlined, please respond by aye. If you're opposed, no.
River Peters.
No.
Willie Campbell.
Absolutely no.
Jerry Crockett.
No.
Nancy Brown. Aye. Monte Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan.
No.
Ben Pugh, Ronnie Tribbett.
Aye.
Charles Von Cannon.
Aye.
Elsie Testor.
Aye.
Isaiah Grinstead.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
No.
Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees.
No.
Randall Jenkins.
No.
Mary Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
No.
Sonja Culler.
No.
Scott Semley.
Aye.
Cody McQueen.
No.
Robert Carroll.
Yes.
Robert Goddard.
No.
Mr. Carroll, will you change your vote?
Ten ayes,
11
11
noes.
noes. Motion fails. We'll move on to committee reports. Ms. Culler, if you would, come forth if you have anything for the budget committee.
Budget committee met last Monday night. You had a budget committee report in your packet. There's a list of donations for the animal shelter totaling $842. I'll make a motion to accept this donation.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Culler, second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Beth Hughes. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Holder. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonja Culler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goddard.
All ayes, motion passed. Next item, please.
Motion to approve the general fund budget 101 amendment number 5. It has 10 items totaling $465,233.19, with zero coming from the fund balance. Those are listed in your packet on the first and second page. If you want me to go through each one of them, I will, but there's no increase. There's no new money required for this, so I make a motion to accept.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Campbell, second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Beth Hughes. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor.
I'm not reporting Clark County have a conflict of interest in the proposed not to be voted. I have recognized my husband and my brother, and only to my conscience and to the obligation of the constituents and the citizens this body represents. I.
Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Holder. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonja Culler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goddard.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
Next motion that I will make is to accept fund general fund 101 amendment number 6. It does have 6 items totaling $464,987.07, with $6,116 coming from the fund balance. I will go over those from your packet. First one is to reallocate funds for the YSO budget for the Sessions Court for a current need. Item number 2 is to recognize a recycling grant allowed for the county's portion. That one is the one that's going to require some money from the fund balance of $6,116. This is something we've been involved with in the past. It helps to keep our percentages down in the landfill. Third item is from the Sheriff's Department budget to correct salary lines. Fourth item is allow for the security reserve for purchase of the camera for the jail. Fifth item is to reallocate within the jail budget for maintenance and medical costs. And the last item is to have a member of the budget committee be the designee for allowing funds for the youth clubs. And I put that in form of a motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ward. Any discussion?
Would it be in order to refer this $6,000 for the grant back to the landfill committee to get some more information on what this is going to cost versus what it will do for us?
Well, the cost is the amount of money listed, and that is a grant. If you look in your minutes, that is a grant, that is only a matching fund grant, which will allow us.
Well, I understand that, but we have 80 of those dumpsters for cardboard. My question is, do we need, and can we utilize 20 or 40 more of those things? What is the plan? Where will they be put? And how will that, now, I know it sounds like a no-brainer to spend $6,000 to get 24. But if I spent $6,000 to get $24,000 worth of Camel cigarettes, I don't smoke, I wouldn't need them. So that's my point.
Mr. Carroll, your point's well taken. However, I think the director of the landfill actually, in working with landfill committee, made that recommendation to budget, so that we've already been through that step.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point in time, it would not be in order. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Tommy Head.
Because I'm an employee of Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal that to be voted. However, declare my argument, my vote and shown in my conscience, my obligation to constituents and citizens is body represent. Aye.
Beth Pugh, Ronnie Trivet.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Because I'm employed, Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal not to be voted. However, I thought my argument from my vote and shown in my conscience, the obligation of constituents, citizens, this body represents. Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley.
Aye.
Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
Next motion I'd like to make is for the solid waste fund 116, amendment number 1, with one item totaling $4,800 with zero coming from the fund balance. Put that form of a motion.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Grindstaff. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Tommy Head.
Aye.
Beth Pugh. Ronnie Trivet.
Aye.
Charles Montana.
Aye.
Elsie Tester.
Aye.
Isaiah Grindstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
Aye.
John Lewis.
Aye.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley.
Aye.
Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
So put in form of a motion to approve the Drug Control Fund 122, amendment number 2, with one item totaling $26,400, zero coming from fund balance.
I make a move to approve it.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Trivett was recognized as making the immediate second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell. Gary Crawford. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Elmer Hand.
For Carter County, conflict of interest in proposal that to be voted on, I declare an argument by vote answering on my conscience, my obligation to constituents, and citizens of this body represented by.
Beth Pugh. Ronnie Tribbett. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor.
Because I support God, County, conflict of interest, proposed not to be voted. I cover my oath and my vote on you. As your honest, my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens of this body represents.
Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Ward. Ross Carlin. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Coe. Scott Semmerly. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
I make the motion to approve Highway Fund 131, amendment number 2, totaling $62,260 with zero coming from fund balance. Second.
Motion made and seconded by Ms. Deets. Any discussion?
This is just, where they sold this equipment to buy new equipment, is what it is.
Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Although I'm in Boyd, Carter County, I have no conflict with this proposal I'm about to vote on.
Jerry Crawford. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Elmer Hand. Beth Pugh. Ronnie Tribbett. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstead. Danny Ward. Ross Carlin. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Coe. Scott Semmerly. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
We need a motion to accept the general fund school budget 141, amendment number 3, with 2 items totaling $269,284.66, with $250,000 coming from the GPS fund balance. This amount is coming from the GPS fund balance is to cover the cost of the SROs per the MOU. Would you motion to that, please?
Are you making a motion or you're asking for a motion?
No, I'm not making a motion, I'm asking for it.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept.
Motion made by Mr. Peters. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, call roll, please.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell. Jerry Crawford. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Elmer Hand. Beth Pugh. Ronnie Tribbett. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstead.
Because I am an employee of Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. I pass. I pass.
Danny Ward. Ross Carlin. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Coe.
Pass.
Scott Semmerly. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff. Does everyone want to change the vote to pass?
20 ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
We need a motion to pass the federal projects funds 142, amendment number 2, with 7 items for a total of $4,628,546.92 with zero coming from the fund balance. This is the approval of the federal money coming into the Federal Department of School System.
I make a motion to accept.
Motion made by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Ward. Any discussion?
Now, this is federal money
federal money that comes into the school department. We have to accept it.
But his budget's 38 million, this is on top of that, right?
This is for federal projects in the school system, yes.
I know, but that's above what his $38 million budget was to begin with.
If you total all the budgets together, yes,
Okay.
but this is separate money from the federal government.
Any other discussion? Mr. Lyons?
Yes, on, Ms. Keller, on item 1, the number is 72, 110-105-101. It says supervisor/director, $60,000 increase. Is that for a new director, or is that just two?
No, that would be for the present director because her money comes from federal money and it has to be listed that way.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Buford Peters. Billy Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Betty McGee. Ronnie Trivet. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Brownstein.
Because I'm an employee of Carter County, I have a conflict of interest in the recommend vote. However, I declare my office, my vote answers only to my conscience and my obligation to constituents and the citizens of Sparta represents passed.
Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Taylor. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Roger Cole.
Pass.
Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
20 ayes, motion passes. Next item, please.
The next item is brought to us to pay a judicial commissioner, Mark Little, for extra time that he served while filling in for the vacancies. We do not have a total at this time. I don't think there was that many times to fill in, but I do make a motion that we approve the payment for this judicial commissioner's filling time.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Lewis.
I got a question, where'd the money come from?
It would come from the judicial money that should have been paid for the people who missed the meeting.
No new money?
No, new money.
I stand corrected on that. I'm sorry if Mr. Trivett made the motion before we got into discussion. Any other discussion? I'm sorry.
Should we know how much before we vote on?
Ms. Ward, Ms. Andrew, would you like to address how we do?
It's 2 months salary, whatever they make a month.
It's gonna be hard to determine because that's technically a salary position, he's not paid hourly, so I don't know how we're gonna determine how much you owe him. All those judicial commissioners are salaried, and I don't know how you advise for me to add up for him working extra because it is a salary position.
Commissioner Ward?
Can we not table this when we find out how much we're paying to?
Not this time. We've got a motion to accept. Unless someone would want to alter the motion or change. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call roll.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Betty McGee. Ronnie Trivet. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Brownstein.
No.
Danny Ward.
No.
Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Culler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll.
No.
Robert Goff.
Yes.
19 ayes or yeses, motion passes. Next item.
Motion to approve the utilization of matching grant funds for the West Carter County Volunteer Fire Department as part of the Volunteer Fire Assistant Grant Contract. This is a total of $3,000.
I make that form of motion, we recess for this.
Motion made by Commissioner Trivett, second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Terry Crawford. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill. Al Meehan. Betsy Pugh, Ronnie Trivet. Charles Montana. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Grinstein. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. Ron Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sandra Cullen. Scott Summerlin. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion passes. Next committee, Education Committee. Mr. Von Can, do you have anything that you'd like to? Mr. Von Can, next committee is Education Committee. Do you have a report or is there anything you'd like to say?
No, sir, we did, please, but we would like to meet we put on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Lyons, do you have anything you'd like to address?
So I guess I better come.
Yes, sir, if you would, please. Thank you.
First of all, I apologize that the minutes did not get to the commissioners in time, but we only met Thursday evening.
Some things are just unavoidable.
So those were just passed out. The only action that we took was the action to move with the process of excess property that was presented to us by Mr. Josh Harden. And there's several parcels of that. And if there are any questions about those parcels, then I would direct those questions to Mr. Harden. It seems like all research had been done and everything was in place in terms of selling these or going to auction with these. So at this time, if you have any questions for Mr. Harden.
Go ahead, Mr. Tester.
Chairman, I have one of those parcels of land is on the river. I don't know which parcel it is, but if it's landlocked, except they drive through the old school bus garage, or we're using, the Clark County Sheriff's Department's using it for storage. And if we sell this piece of property, we're gonna have to give them a right of way, and that means somebody will have to come through our locked fences before we park these vehicles, will be confiscated, and that's gonna be bad. So I'd like to pull that piece out.
Which, you don't know which one?
Could I comment on that?
No, it's all right.
If you would, please, one person at a time. Mr.
Can I
Chair.
comment on that?
Yeah.
I received an email on Saturday, following our meeting on Thursday, from Mr. Grindstaff advising me of this potential problem. And I would read the email if I could, please. I wanted to make you aware of one of the properties, which is 014.00, that was voted on to present an excess property is actually a plot of land adjoining a school bus garage property. Property 013.00, which is owned by the Carter County School System. The adjoining property 013.00 is currently being used as storage location for the Highway Department and as storage location for impounded cars by the Sheriff's Department. The parcel of land that we are considering is 014.00. It's 0.69 acres, and Mr. Grindstaff did give me a heads up that this could be discussed and cleared up by our attorney.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Tripp.
I'd like to speak on this.
Yes, sir.
This is the same piece of property that we let the Park and Rec have back to make a skateboard thing out of it. And it's in a flood zone.
But as far as I'm concerned, there should be a right of way to that property, if I'm not mistaken. But it was the same property that the county was gonna let the Park and Rec make a skate rink out of. And they couldn't use it on account it being in a flood zone.
Mr. Chairman, there is a right of way through there. I think, I don't know if you did any research not there on that right of way. But on the outside of the gate that runs parallel to the river, there should be a right of way, because when Mr. Hayes bought it at that time, it run down that way. I'm sure Mr. Hayes, I don't know if he still owns it or not. No, but it's running into a parallel like this, it's cut off into a triangle. Has nothing to do with the backside of that lot or the lot period.
With those points being raised, though, I think it would be advantageous for us to take another look at that one parcel. You agree, Attorney Harden?
Certainly, yes, and I can verify that there is, you're saying there's a right-of-way coming off of 19E?
Yeah. It run down behind us. As soon as you turn in, it run right behind the fence. It didn't go inside the fence, it went down behind the fence. That's the way he took his equipment, and that's the way he took his trucks when he went in. So evidently that was his right of way.
Mr. Lyons?
I'm not sure if your all's packet contains this picture, which points out exactly where the parcel of land is. It's kind of in a triangle right at the end.
No, we had the meeting on Thursday night, so it didn't happen in time for this information to go out. The package went out on Wednesday.
Right.
So they don't have any of that.
So with that being said, I think as far as the other 5 parcels are concerned, is anyone aware of any issues with them that would prohibit the attorney from going ahead? Yes, Mr. Moore.
A little hard to know have anything in the packet about any of this material. So how do we know if any of this?
I guess you just have to depend on the Building and Grounds Committee that studied this thoroughly with our attorney, Mr. Hart. And his recommendation was to go ahead and present this to the commission after we had made a motion and recommended it today for approval, with the exception of this one that we'll take back.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes, sir.
Make this perfectly clear, this has nothing to do with the inside of the lot. It has nothing to do with the building set on the lot. It's down below the building, right? It has nothing to do with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Everybody gets it.
Mr. Peters?
I just have one question. When this land was purchased from Mr. Hayes, was it bought with the Park and Rec, out of the Park and Rec budget or out of the county originally?
Mr. Harden's done the work on that as far as title. I couldn't tell you.
Ms. Deloach, maybe you have.
I think that was all the Park and Rec funds. To my knowledge, that's what happened. I believe Mr. Coolidge, you were on that Park and Rec board. I believe that's what they did, is they took their allocation to buy that piece of property.
I wasn't on the board at that time, but I have heard discussions about this, and it was my understanding that the Park and Rec bought this land out of their budgeted money. So therefore, I don't know whether the county can sell it without their knowledge.
Mr. Lyons, if you don't have an objection to this, this is 6 of the original 35 that we submitted several years ago, and we would really like to expedite the sale of these properties. However, in light of not being able to get the information in the packet, would you have an objection if we advance that information by email and hard copy to those that don't have the email, and have that ready for the next month's meeting so that we can address that?
I have no objection at all, Mayor. We're trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
In this process.
And that would still give us plenty of time for the attorney to proceed with this sale here early on in spring. Mr. Trivett.
What about the other parcels that we got to sell? Are we going to go ahead and sell those?
They're working on this. This has been a process. If you recall, we introduced this 2+ years ago. We did an initial run, Mr. Loach, Attorney Bowers. It took a little while to get a feel for the process because we hadn't done that. There were a total at the time of 35 parcels. We've liquidated 2 of them. We've got 6 more in queue here. But I don't think it would be a bad thing if we just delay this for another 30, 60 days, and then they can start the process, and we can have this thing ready for auction in the spring. if everyone's acceptable, if that's acceptable with the chairman.
Our next meeting is December 1st, so we can get right back on.
Actually, the commission meeting is going to be canceled for December, the full commission. I just want to make everyone aware of that.
Is that the subcommittees as well?
That would be up to the chairman of each of those subcommittees. If you decide that you are not going to have a December meeting for whatever reason, or if you have pertinent business, you may need to go ahead and address that. This may be an issue that you can resolve and rectify. But please see the clerk's office, make certain they're aware of that, so that once they place the ad, we can get everything in order. Okay?
Yes, sir. The only other things that we're working on, 2 or 3 other projects, we have nothing to approve on those.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's unfortunate. There was scheduling conflicts. It caused a delay, and that's going to happen from time to time with buildings and grounds. But we appreciate the work that they're doing, not only on this matter, but the highway, the health department, and other issues that need to be addressed. So, Mr. Lyons, while you're up there, I should have mentioned financial management. Is there anything you'd like to say in reference to that?
The only thing with financial management was we had our I was part of the organizational meeting, whereas I was elected chair, Mr. Ward was elected vice chair, and of course, Ms. Ingrid Deloach is keeping us in line as the secretary.
Thank you,
So
sir.
that's basically all.
Well, at least we're up and going now. Everything's in motion. What about the highway committee? Mr. Hill, is there anything you'd like to report on? If you would, please come to the podium.
The Highway Committee met last week, 2 weeks ago. And the biggest item on the agenda, the News Channel 11 was there, was some discussion about Judge Ben Allen Road. The matter was sent out for investigation, and we'll all be reporting back at the next committee meeting. There is a matter we do need to vote on, a couple of things actually that I'd like to bring up. The first one, a gentleman from Carter County 911 came in requesting that we change the name of a road, Carter County Road, from T. Campbell Loop, T-E-E Campbell Loop is how it's listed now, to simply Campbell Loop, so that it'll facilitate 911 emergency operations. They have a signed petition from the 2 residents of the road, and I'd like to bring that up at this time as a motion that we petition for a name change of T. Campbell Loop to Campbell Loop. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Second made by Mr. Lewis. Any discussion?
Who brought this up, had it changed?
E911, Carter County E911.
How did the people feel? You're saying you want a petition on this road?
There's a petition in hand. There's only 2 residents on the road. As I understand it, it's a matter that, I mean, if the ambulance needed to get to someone's residence.
That, what's the problem with the T County? I mean, it's already on the road list as T County?
It's already on the road list as T Campbell.
So
So
they change this to Campbell?
The 911 representative indicates that everybody currently that lives on that road now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hill, is using just the Campbell.
right, it's referred to as Campbell Loop, and it's causing some confusion. It's a pretty simple matter, really. I think we'd have to either
Mailing
scrape off the
addresses
letters.
as well as 911 addresses are all being referenced now as Campbell, not T. Campbell.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Motion made by Mr. Privet, second by Mr. Ward. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Peter Peters. Willie Campbell.
Aye.
Jerry Conklin. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan.
Aye.
Benson Hughes. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Tester. Isaiah Grindstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. Scott Semley. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll. Robert Goff.
All ayes, motion passed. Next item.
Okay, we inherited from the previous highway committee an invoice for a surveying job that was done for $1,600. It came up, there was a good bit of discussion on this at the last meeting, and I'm not really comfortable with the way it was handled. It got kind of pitched out. The gentleman at Snyder Surveying Company had been waiting for in excess of 90 days for payment on a job they did for Carter County in good faith. Mr. Schutler, Chris Schutler from the planning office did pay the bill because he believes, like I do, that nobody that does work in good faith for Carter County should wait, in excess of a normal 30-day period for payment on a job that was done. The issue at hand was, as I understand it, our former road commissioner was not well and was out of work periodically, and somewhere along the lines regarding flooding and drainage issue in Bramer community, a purchase order number wasn't secured. My current road supervisor, road commissioner, Mr. Colbach, stated that he wouldn't have a problem paying the invoice if a purchase order had been issued, which it hadn't, and it was kind of a mess. But the bill did get paid in the amount of $1,649.36 from the Planning Commission's line item 57700-499 under flood control. What my research indicates is that it actually should have more realistically come out of Highway Department line item number 6800321, which covers engineering services and that sort of thing. I'd like to see if we could get a motion to reimburse the planning office so that this thing actually comes out of the line item where it should have come from. It's no new money, and Mr. Loach has informed me that there are adequate funds to cover it in the highway budget. In fact, they're more able to afford it than the line item that it did come out of.
Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your presentation there, and however, based on the minutes of the meeting, there were seven ayes voting against that move. So I don't think it would be proper at this time. I think you need to readdress that back with the committee.
Okay.
And once you get to committee, because you've got the overwhelming majority of them against that motion. So.
All right.
Any other items?
No, that's pretty much it. I don't think we're going to be having a meeting in December because there's only one matter that needs addressing, and it was a relatively insignificant one. The committee's expressed an interest in taking off like everyone else is doing in the month of December, so we'll pick it back up first Monday in January.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peters.
At that time, on the issue he was talking about, I was chairman of the highway committee when this came up. It was never the intention at that time of the highway committee for planning to pay this for this process. Like I said, Mr. Perkins was in and out at that time, and it was our assumption that the highway department would be in charge of this. We, at that time, because Mr. Perkins was asked, it was asked of Mr. Schutler to just get somebody to survey this, so the highway department would know what rights they had and where they could ditch things at this time. So it was never the intention for planning to absorb this bill.
I understand that, sir, but I think the discussions were very thorough in that meeting, and they actually even referenced the minutes of previous meetings. So I think any discussion along that line needs to go back to that particular committee, and then if you can change it, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. The next order of business will be let's go with the Law Enforcement Committee. Mr. Grindstaff, do you have anything?
No, sir, there's no report at this time.
Okay, what about the nominating committee? Mr. Trivett, what do you have for us?
We've been going over some of these committees and trying to do away some that's not very effective. And the committee voted on this to do away with utilities and cable, legal and industry, recreation and judicial, accident review board. Now, utilities cable, I don't know if we've ever met in the last 4 years. Get you a better job. And the only thing we can do on this utilities and cable is issue them a franchise, and I think it's about 15 years when we issue it. So I don't know if we've ever met. Legal industry, I can't remember us in the last 4 years ever meeting on it. Recreation and judicial. Now, we've got applications out for this Park and Rec Committee that we're trying to fill up, and we'll have them in December. I'm hoping that they come up to where we can get that Park and Rec Committee going again. An accident review board. Don't know that. We don't meet there. But anyway, we need to do away with these committees, and then if something does come up where we have to go to one of these committees, we can always come back and appoint it to a certain committee. So, this time I'd like to have a motion that we do away with these committees. John?
I'd like to say something before we do that.
Go ahead, John.
Now, on this cable, we have met for the last 8 years. Now, when I first came on board here, they had a petition come up for the Comcast cable for a 10-year contract that we were going to give them, the county. And at that time, the county mayor, this was the deal. To get one house hooked up, you had to go have 10 houses in 1 mile. And I asked Mr. Farr, I said, now look here now, when we went to Toby, you could go 10 miles and not see 2 houses. But them people deserve cable like anybody else does. Now, we have, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but we all guilty of it. We have laid back and let the state of Tennessee deal with these cable companies. Now, they want, the cable company want Tennessee to have the only franchise on the cable company, bypassing Carter County, bypassing all the citizens in Carter County, like we ain't nothing. Now, if we're gonna issue these franchises in our county, and they're gonna come in and get our money, and they'll tell you, well, you don't have to have the cable, that's true, but if they gonna come in here and, so there's our business for the cable company, we as citizens and, commissioners don't have some say-so on these contracts, whether we get nothing. The people don't have no say-so on nothing anymore. Now, I think you're making a mistake to do away with it.
Well, if they come back, or the franchise up, we can always call a meeting and have it.
That's not what happened.
Well, let me tell you something, John, the state is one that's regulating these things now.
We let the state do it.
Huh?
We let the state do it.
Yeah, I know,
It's our law.
the state regulates, but the only thing we get is a franchise for so much money from them operating. But as far as telling them what they can do, and anything, there's nothing we can do now.
If they come in our county and want to franchise, we should have a say-so on what's going on in our county. It's just like all these franchises in the county, the water, other things.
Yeah.
Nobody, the citizens don't have no say-so over nothing. And this ain't right for the people.
Yeah, I know, but the state is one that's give these franchises, John.
The state does it,
Yeah.
but we protest this and tell the state we don't want this happening in our county, that we want to have our own franchise. I said, this ain't happening yet. State says we want to take it over to Comcast Cable, all Texas Mountain Line down and get all this thing set up and then bypass the whole system because the county. I don't think it's right, and I don't think we ought to be away with special investigation either.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes,
thank you for your comments. Ms. Culler?
Well, as I was standing before Mr. Lewis was recognized, I take issue with the fact that the utility committee hasn't met, it hasn't been, I was chairman of it. And also, I brought this up a month ago, that I had a email from the people of the state that the contract has run out, and we need to renew the contract at this time. And he was supposed to contact me before my term ended, and he has not. So we do have some business with utilities.
Ms. Culler, also along those lines, as mayor, I followed up on that, you advanced that to me, and I have not got any response. And the name of the company is not one that I recognize, so it's not Charter, it's not Comcast, you know, it's totally out of normal day-to-day business. And as far as the franchise is, Mr. Lewis, I think Mr. Hicks, who was chairman of the committee at the time, did extensive research. And Mr. Hicks came back to this commission and noted that all of those franchises are handled now at the state level. And you can understand why a Comcast or Charter would want to do that as opposed to have to negotiate with each individual county. And that's the way it's being done now. And, you know, I don't have a problem one way or the other. The nominating committee has made a recommendation on these committees that have not met primarily. And I think, Mr. Trivett, we're talking about accident review.
Right.
That was put in place many years ago by an insurance company. It's no longer valid, and Attorney Hardin has looked at a number of these as well. Capital projects. Capital project is something that this commission is going to address as a whole body. Industry. We have an economic and community development leader now through Carter County tomorrow that handles that, and any issues that would be of urgent nature requiring your response would be brought before you. Judicial. Attorney Hardin, is there any reason that we would have a judicial committee?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And as far as a legal committee, we have our county attorney. He's our legal staff, and we have to entrust to him. Recreation, as it is outlined, we haven't really met. We do have a Parks and Rec committee that's being organized now. We have advertised for those, and hopefully at our next meeting, we'll have enough applications to submit for you for your approval to get that committee up and going. And special investigations, I think we've talked about that. Maybe not many of you, but other members have spoken about this. The legalities, you know, I just can't see, but I'll let Attorney Hardin speak on that.
I'm not sure what the function of special investigations has been in the past, but there's no statutory requirement for such a committee that I can find or am aware of. So it would be an option, you know, for y'all to consider whether you wanted to keep that committee or not. Like I said, I find no requirement for it.
And as far as utilities and cable, keep in mind we have utility districts throughout the entire county. Mr. Lyons, you sit on one of those boards, and I sit on one as well. So Watauga River Regional Water Authority. And if there are issues that are raised by those boards or any citizen, which if you recall, Mr. Lyons, several years ago, we had a citizen that came before this commission, not that particularly that Cable and Utilities Committee, but the entire commission, and we met with South and were able to resolve that pretty quickly. So I think this is just more of a housekeeping request that Mr. Trivett put together, but it's your decision. So Mr. Trivett's asked for a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Brown. Is there a second? No second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Kara. Any further discussion?
I would
Mr.
just
Cole?
like to say that the email I got was from the director of the franchise, not a utility or a cable company. and I will send it to your office.
I've already received it, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Ward.
Mr. Ward.
I wanted to clarify, are we voting on all 6 at one time, or are we voting individually?
Well, all 4 of them.
There's actually 8 that's on the list. There's actually 8 that's on the list. Let me,
On all 6 at one time, or we?
Yeah.
accident review, capital projects, industry, judicial, legal, recreation, special investigations, and utilities and cable.
If any of this comes up, 3 or 4 months down the road, we can always refer to some committee to take care of it. But I can see, and I've been on here 4 years this time, and I don't know if none of these committees ever met. But if they do come up, we can take care of it in some committee, some way, some form.
Any further discussion? Mr. Von Cannon.
I've got to say that with charter going to digital or high definition, they will promise you and do give you another black box. I've got them all over the house. However, after a year, you're going to be paying, it's a way to get $6 or $7 more a month on your internet bill or your connection. The problem with that is, they give you, what they give you in return is 1-800 number. I called one recently and I got a British accent. And I said, hey, where are you from? I'm in New Delhi, India. And they farmed off some of their customer service situations. If I'm going to deal with somebody, so my wife, she's a very persistent woman, she called and called and called, finally got a live one. This is what we're up against in trying to resolve communication problems in this county. True, the state took it over because of, and I can see why, but I can't see why we don't have some way other than a 1-800 number to voice grievances concerning a provider.
You can always call and get those over there in Japan or Taiwan or wherever like I do. And I know what I've done when they went to raising the rates. I cut them off, Mr. Von Cannon.
Mr. Hill, one last comment, and we'll have to close all along.
Along the lines of Mr. Von Cannon's comment, if there's any way we can do this thing, it would be for the betterment of the citizens.
Yeah.
All these TV and internet providers, if we could, somehow enforce when they tell you they're going to be there between 8 and 12 in the morning, that they actually show up before 5 o'clock. That would be all I had add to that.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Buford Peters. Willie Campbell. Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan.
Aye.
Beth Pugh, Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Von Cannon. Elsie Testor. Isaiah Brown Stafford. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller.
No.
John Lewis.
No?
Ray Lyons. Sandra Coler.
No.
Scott Zimmerman.
No.
Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
I can assure you, some of this stuff comes up on the cables, we will start another committee or something, or turn it over to somebody where we can handle it, but I don't look for it.
18 ayes, motion passes. Any other thing, Mr. Crivitt?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, what about rules and bylaws? Mr. Jenkins, do you have anything for us today?
Mr. Chairman, we discussed in the rules and bylaws, actually brought up a couple of suggestions to the second reading rule. I'd like, I think everybody has a copy in front of you. As it is, the second reading rule will only apply if the motion we made is estimated to have costs associated with the excess of $100,000 in new money. That we can bypass this, is what this is saying, bypass the second reading. The second reading rule will only apply if the motion made will permanently alter or replace existing rules, guidelines, codes, or structures, unless a motion before the commission will require immediate action or will require response before the next full meeting of the commission. I'd like to put that in form of a motion to amend. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'll make a motion on this second reading here. The city of Elizabeth has been doing this for over 25, 30 years. Young city's been doing it. Now, what is the problem here in Carter County? If we're gonna have some kind of something come up here that is for the whole people of the whole county, and most stuff that's what comes up, if we done here representing the people of the county, what is the big deal with the second reading? A lot of times you don't have time to read really the ordinance, what's coming down, to see what's going on. And the second reading will give us time to do this. Now, this $100,000, very little time, anything come up over $100,000. And I think we need to make a mistake by voting for this thing here.
Ms. Deeds?
In my opinion, we're taking a simple process and making it very complicated. Most resolutions are voted on the first reading. If we have questions about a resolution or would like to have more time on that resolution, all we have to do is table it or ask for a second reading. Why do we need to burden the issue by adding dollar amounts? We might have a resolution for $100,000, which I doubt, that it might need to be passed immediately. Or we might have a resolution for $1,000 and we'd have questions about it. We would not want to pass it at that time. So why not keep the process simple? Present the resolution. If we have no problems, vote on the resolution. And if we do have problems with the resolution, we just table it and ask for a second reading. We're just burdening ourselves with when we start putting limits on it.
I spoke to Rick Hall, that was CPAS, and he did a statewide study for me, and he said that there's only one county that does second readings. And I don't like we need to bog the government down by having second readings on everything. We need to choose what we're going to have second readings on. And we can do that with the chairman. He can propose, hey, we need to have a second reading on this particular item. We need to make it simple. You know, we're trying to make things too hard. We're trying to slow government down. She's exactly right. And Rick Hall says that it's not a wise decision to do. So that's why I'm going to see.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Mr. Lyons?
Yes, Your Honor, I was just going to say he didn't have a second on the motion for all the discussion.
That's correct. Mr. McQueen?
I would just remind everyone that this has actually already been passed, and my line of thinking in presenting the second reading rule was to provide an exception so that we're currently in compliance with rules and bylaws, that these that were not, even today, the resolution that we passed were not brought to a second reading. This would allow that to be legal and in compliance with rules and bylaws.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins did make the motion. Is there a second to adopt? We have a second. Any other discussion?
Can I say one more thing just to clear up?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I mean, we're just trying to make it clear on what it is. For the past several resolutions, we've broke our laws in here that we made. We haven't had a second reading on hardly anything. This is just a clear set guideline of how we bypass that. I mean, there's no need, I think Mr. Green, you made the point the other night, there's no need to have a second reading on for money donated to the animal shelter. It's just simple. Yes, sir.
going back to the history of why this came about. For 3 years at least, someone would jump up in the middle of the meeting and say, I recommended we spend $611,000 for something, and you've got to right then make a decision to vote. Without any prior knowledge of what this thing's about. Therefore, this was just, this deal of putting in readings had to do basically with keeping ideas that weren't even on the agenda sometimes. They weren't on the agenda even. And some commissioner would jump up and say, I make a motion, we do this or that, without us having any real input as to what it was about in most of the time. Therefore, this was just to slow down the procedure. And I think when the motion went in, it went in a little crooked as far, the purpose was to slow down big ticket items that were sprung on us from the floor.
Well, we're not voting to do away with. Go ahead, Ms. Stevens, I'm sorry.
There's a difference between a motion and a resolution. Somebody jumps up and makes a motion, and we vote on it then. But the resolution, we usually have it in hand. We've looked at it, we've studied it, and we need to keep it simple.
Mr. Carroll, last comment. Go ahead, sir.
One of the most important things we can do is establish protocol. Second important thing we can do is to follow that established protocol. One reason why we've had that issue with paying the surveyors is because I don't know, there might have been a protocol established, but evidently wasn't followed. So you can have an issue either way. Protocol and then follow. If that's what it says, that's what we do.
With that being said, let's go ahead and cease this discussion, because it seems to me, Mr. Chair, that we've got two discussions going on here. The first discussion, we already have a motion and a second on that, and we'll ask the clerk here just in a minute to call for that roll call. The motion is to amend what you've currently already passed as far as a second reading, to amend that second reading. So let's address that matter first, and then if this committee or someone wants to make a motion to alter what's already been done, and then we can address that. So Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Vicar Peters.
No.
Willie Campbell.
No.
Gary Crockett.
No.
Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
No.
Al Meehan.
No.
Mr. Pugh, Ronnie Tribbett.
Aye.
Charles Von Cannon.
No.
Elsie Tester.
No.
Isaiah Brightstaff.
Aye.
Danny Ward.
No.
Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees.
No.
Randall Jenkins.
Aye.
Larry Miller.
No.
John Lewis.
No.
Ray Lyons. Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
No.
Scott Simmerly.
No.
Freddie McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
No.
Motion to amend the second reading as it currently exists to fail. Anything else, Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we have a 10-minute recess.
Have a motion, is there a second for a 10-minute recess? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized.
Yes, sir, Mr. Peters.
We've had a lot of discussion this morning on resolutions. I'd like to read what was passed a couple months ago, maybe last month. There was a motion made by John Lewis before, as follows: before we pass any kind of resolution or anything for this county, that we have at least 2 readings on it. And on the second reading, that we meet down here about 30 minutes earlier from the commission meeting, let our attorney here tell us what these resolutions is all about. Now, it's my understanding that this motion passed. So, this morning, we have not followed that recommendation. We have skipped that part. So at this time, to clear everything up, I'd like to make a motion that we do away with the second reading of all resolutions.
Motion made by Mr. Peters, second by Ms. Culler. Any discussion? Mr. Jenkins?
It's just my concern that we do need to have a second reading on some issues. I mean, even though we do get our packets a week ahead and we can do our research on them, and there is certain issues that is important that we do need to take further time to discuss it. And we might need more than 5 days to research it. The amendment to the motion earlier, I'm be speaking right on that, but it's just to, help us out with certain issues, because Mr. Peters is right, we haven't followed that so far, so I'm worried about it.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? Mr. Von Cannon?
I'd like to amend the motion. Our original intent was simply to keep motions from coming off the floor and catching us by surprise. They weren't on the agenda sometimes. My original intent was, and I did say this before, was to amend this motion as it pertains to items brought before the committee, not on the agenda, that those items for sure should be on a second reading thing to give us, as a committee, or commission, a chance to study it. So I'd like to amend the motion to say that any item coming from the floor, not on the agenda, be applied to the second reading.
Basically, the whole discussion here was to, as I understand it, to address resolutions, solely resolutions.
Right, that's the point I wanted to make, Mr. Chairman. We're getting apples and oranges mixed up here. We're talking about resolutions, written resolutions. We're not talking about amendments from the floor or motions from the floor. And if we get a resolution, we feel like that it needs to be addressed further or needs to be studied further, then that can be made from the floor. It don't have to be written down. If you've got a problem with the resolution, you can always ask that we table that resolution to the next meeting. So we're getting things mixed up.
Basically, that's what I was gonna say too. We already have stuff, we already have things in protocol. We can table stuff, we can just dismiss it all together. We can get the chairman to bring it back before us again for the second reading if we choose. Why do we need this rule to make it happen? Let's make this simple, like Ms. Steve said. Why are we trying to complicate everything? We don't need any more rules. We just need to follow and have good meetings and everybody get along and let the chairman do his job and us do our job. That's all I've got to say. I think a second reading is great on some things, but budgetary matters, but not everything that comes across.
Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Peters, what kind of resolution do we have up this morning?
We have resolutions.
We have one come up this morning that is, what was it?
It's about the payment of the bridge.
Folks, if you would, please, remind the initial rules, one person at a time.
Some of this stuff is penny stuff, like the bridge. That is on the manual. Now, a regular resolution is something that involves the whole county body this thing here, something that we're gonna have to spend a lot of money on, something that's gonna affect the whole people. Now, like I said, the city has done this for years, and I don't see no problem with it. Second reading on this stuff, if this motion from the floor and things like that ain't gonna work. We need to, I beg you, fellow commissioners, to stick with regular motion like it was. Why are they bringing it up now? There's some reason behind everything they're bringing it up now. It should never be brought back up again. There's some reason behind it.
Mr. Lewis, a resolution is a resolution. It's a written resolution. I'll ask our attorney, is not a resolution a resolution?
Yes, sir.
No matter whether it pertains to money or what, it's a resolution.
Yes, and my understanding was the original motion for the second reading rule only dealt with resolutions. That was my understanding. Yes, any resolution that I'm requested to draft will be in the packets and out ahead of the meeting. Yes, we're not talking about motions from the floor.
Ms. Dees, we've got a question on the motion that will allow you to go ahead and
Since this
speak.
motion was made 2 months ago, I think we've passed 3 or 4 resolutions on the first reading. I'm not sure they're even legal.
I think they're legal, but
Well,
nonetheless,
we didn't have a second reading.
we have a motion and a second. We've got a call for the order. Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
You restate the motion, please, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peters?
The motion is to do away with the second reading on resolutions. That will take care of today, and then we can go from there. We're back to where we started from originally.
Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
Buford Peters.
Aye.
Willie Campbell.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Jerry Crockett.
Aye.
Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Al Meehan.
Aye.
Betty Depew. Ronnie Crivitt.
No.
Charles Montana.
No.
Elsie Tester. Isaiah Grandstaff.
Pass.
Danny Ward.
Aye.
Ross Garland.
Aye.
Timothy Hoser. Bobby Dees.
Aye.
Randall Jenkins.
No.
Larry Miller.
No.
John Lewis.
No.
Ray Lyons.
Aye.
Sonia Coler.
Aye.
Scott Semley.
Aye.
Cody McQueen.
Aye.
Robert Carroll.
No.
Robert Goble.
No.
Isaiah Winfield.
Yes, ma'am. I vote aye.
Thirteen ayes, motion passes. Are there any other committees that I have failed to call? Ms. Dees,
Landfill.
please come on.
The landfill committee met on November the 3rd. And we had Kim Reyes come in from CTAS. She's an environmental consultant, and she's totally approved since we had so many new people on the landfill committee, we thought that this was necessary. And as you know, at the landfill, we have a newly purchased roll-off truck. It's a 2005 model. Because the previous truck was a hook lift truck, and the new truck is a roll-off or a cable pull, 5 dumpsters will require retrofitting to make them compatible. The landfill director, Benny Lyons, was planning to ship these boxes to North Carolina to have them retrofitted. However, Director Lyons, with the help of 2 of our landfill committee commissioners, Mike Hill and Danny Ward, have worked with the Cloudland High School welding program, and they are going to do the retrofitting of the boxes. This will save the landfill budget and the citizens of Carter County
approximately $2,600. And the project is giving valuable problem-solving experience to the welding students at Cloudland. Sam Potter, the welding program instructor at Cloudland, is excited to have this project for his students. The work will be completed about a month earlier than the previous plan to send it to North Carolina. And everyone, the county citizens, Cloudland welding students, and the landfill program are winners because of the efforts of Commissioner Hill and Ward working with Director Lyons. I'd like to give them a hand for that. And the money saved from retrofitting of the boxes can be used at the Elk Mill Convenience Center, which has been renamed Little Milligan Convenience Center. Building has been ordered for the center, and Ben is expecting it to arrive this week. Another member of the landfill committee, Commissioner Von Cannon, was in charge of organizing the American Recycle Day for the county. It was held last Saturday, November 15th, at Food City in Elizabethton. And the Clean Team students helped hand out flyers and talk to the citizens. Mr. Von Cannon, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, please, just a moment. American Recycle Day was an offshoot of Keep America Beautiful. It's celebrated every November 15th, regardless of the day it appears on. But this particular year was on Saturday the 15th. Next year it'll be different. However, we've been fortunate to have Food City as a corporate, as a host for the occasion. This particular year, Committee Lines made up several hundred directions to the landfill, or to the recycling center. And I didn't count all of them this morning, but I did estimate that we passed out around 300 of these flyers. We know that one year, 200 and some people said they didn't know where the recycling center was. So hopefully that's beginning to make a difference. Carter County recycles roughly 37% of the waste that comes through. We're not doing anything with the household waste yet, as a solid stream situation, but we hope to. The nation's average is 34%. So we're doing a little better than the nation's average. What does this amount to? 82 million tons of waste was recycled last year, not in the county, but nationwide. That reduces the carbon dioxide emissions. That equates to 33 million automobiles taken off the road. Therefore, it is a big factor. 37% is good, but who in the nation recycles much more? The city of San Francisco holds the record right now at 98-point-something% recycled. And that's a target. 20 recycled aluminum cans, for example, use the same amount of energy to make one can from aluminum oxide. Anyway, the symbol that you see on the bottom of plastics, especially plastics, the symbol that's there is a triangle, roughly a triangle. And you'll see that on the bottom of not every plastic container, but every plastic container made in the United States. Those made in Mexico don't have to have it on, and they don't have it. So that's a good way, and in that triangle is a number. That number equates to the chemical makeup of the plastic. For example, one is made by PET Kingsport, and it is all PET. But that only is the definition for a long chemical name that it has. Low density polyethylene or styrene. Styrene is the one, if I had anything to do with it, and you had anything to do with it, you would totally eliminate from moisture in the United States. Because styrene breaks down into small beads, and those small beads do not break down easily. For example, in the Pacific, there's vortex. We hear about Arctic vortexes and that sort of thing, but there's a vortex in the Pacific Ocean, 600 miles wide, 400 miles long, between Japan and Hawaii. That is a giant cesspool of plastic going round and around and around. Where did it come from? You and I throwing things onto the highway, and it going into the river, and from the river into the ocean. In the West, hopefully we don't have anything to do with that. But get on board. America Recycles is an annual thing, and we thank a lot of people for this local deal. We thank Food City for hosting. We thank Danny as a representative of Food City. We thank the Sheriff's Department for furnishing materials that we passed out. And the personnel that were there. We thank the group of high school students called the Clean Team, and I thought they were the Clean Team until I saw it on their sweaters. Clean Team group from each of the high schools. A worthy effort. I do hope to see, I'd like to see, recycling convenience centers throughout the county, so we'll be and a logical place for it is property already owned, such as school. But that's been discussed at times, and the school people need to come up with a good answer as to why that's not viable, because we need more places for convenience drop-offs. As a matter of fact, I went in this morning and sure enough, somebody dropped me off a couch at my place of business. I don't need it. But anyway, we've got to stop this mentality also, of dropping stuff on somebody else's property. True, anytime you have a convenience center, you're going to have some idiot who's come along and throw his purse on.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
They do. They got to start somewhere. Thank you for participating, and thank you, Lenny, because without your efforts in dropping off containers, and I think that was an ongoing program.
Yes,
Food City did it.
We do it about quarterly.
Once a month.
Working with me.
The only thing I saw that I didn't like about the program, and you know,
You didn't get it cut.
looking at backgrounds, as an industrial engineer, I look for the negatives, I don't look for the positives, because positives take care of themselves. But collecting glass does nobody any good other than getting it off out of the stream. We will have eventually wind up taking that to the landfill, which costs us money, but that it would go there originally, it would go to our, to Bronco.
Thank you, Mr. Von Cam. We appreciate all your comments. We appreciate all the efforts of everyone involved in this initiative. And I'm hopeful that the landfill committee, using the information that Kim Moran had given us, maybe can schedule a field trip to Cumberland County or Roane County early next year. I've talked with the director of solid waste there, and they have excellent programs turning exceptional return on investment. And I'm not saying to duplicate exactly what they're doing, but we need to take a look at what the other counties are doing and see if we can't come up with a form of that will give us the same type of return. I'm certain that Ms. Dietz and the landfill committee will put that together. Anything else, Ms. Dietz?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Von Cannon. I won't make that mistake again. I also have a flyer. Getting back to the welding program, I forgot to mention this. I have a flyer that I'd like to pass out that explains what's going on. It's at the end of the counter, Ross, there's some right there in front of you. No. I'd like for you to be sure to read that. I'd like you to be sure to read that because it explains how Mr. Potter, the welding instructor feels about this, and I think it's an ongoing program, and I think it's wonderful when we can use the facilities in the county and work together with the schools, and I just want you to be sure to read that. Now, the grant money that you, that we talked about this morning and you voted through the budget, Benny will, when he receives that money, he's going to purchase 22 8-yard dumpsters and 2 40-yard dumpsters, and I'm sure he has plans for those or he wouldn't have been interested in that grant. The landfill director.
Ms. Deeds?
Yes.
If you would, please, I think Mr. Lyon wants to interject.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think he just wanted to clarify when he's going to spend the money.
If we get the money from the state, we have to be awarded the grant first.
Yes.
That'll take place after Christmas. If we're awarded the money, then, it all depends on the points system that the state goes by as to whether or not we get the grant this year, so.
Sorry for the interruptions, go ahead.
That's fine. Landfill Director Lyons also has indicated to me that he'd like for every commission to visit the landfill and the recycling facilities. If you haven't been there, you need to go, and if you'll call him and make an appointment, he will give you a tour. And it's very enlightening for those of you that have been, you know that. And it would be helpful to Benny if you would maybe 4 or 5 go at a time. That would save him some time rather than one at a time. You'd have to give a tour. If you kind of get with some of your friends and groups and go and let him give you that tour, I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure he would. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Ms. Deeds. Is there any other commission chair? Mr. Meehan, would you want to speak in reference to Beer Board?
Can I do it from here? We'll go up there.
I'd prefer you come up to the.
The other committee was Health and Welfare, and Mr. Holgren could not be here, but just to report that there is nothing to report from the Health and Welfare. The County Beer Board met on November the 6th to consider 2 applications for on and off premise beer licenses. One was TC's Market, Highway 91, Stony Creek, and the other was the Beer Wars, Highway 19E in Roan Mountain. After deliberation and public comments, both beer licenses were granted.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Did you say that both of them was off premises just now?
On off premise?
I thought you said both of them was off premises.
On off.
Okay.
On and off. Yep.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Meehan. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move to the attorney's report.
Okay, as far as a litigation update, this month some good news. The Crowell v. Carter County Beer Board case was heard in circuit court by Judge Stanley on November 10th, and she ruled that the county was correct in denying the beer permit in that case. Have not received the actual order yet, but when I do, I can make copies of that available to you all if you would like it. But that was certainly good news of a case that's been going on for some time. And that's really the last vestige of some of that ice house litigation that's been going on for years. As far as my activities this month, a significant amount of research, obviously, in regard to the beer board, attended that beer board meeting. We're still working on the completion of the legal work to clear the way for the SIA project access road in the industrial park. Still working on that. Completed some research this month for Sheriff Lunsford regarding the requirement of fingerprinting for those who are released on a misdemeanor citation, and those folks have to be processed before trial, and I indicated that to Sheriff Lunsford. Did some research for a writ of possession service issue for the Sheriff's Department this month as well. Also working on an issue for the Clerk and Master regarding civil case fees, and I'll be submitting an Attorney General opinion request for that in the coming weeks. Obviously prepared the 3 resolutions that you would consider today. I'm also still looking into the issues referred to me from the Highway Committee regarding the operation of the quarry on Judge Ben Allen Road. Attended several other meetings this month, court security, rules and bylaws, and building and grounds, and did present those excess property parcels that will be brought back to you at the next commission meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Attorney. Also, since you mentioned court security, you do have the minutes of the meeting in your packet that'll bring you up to speed with what action was taken and what's in process as far as court security is concerned. Commissioner comments. Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Moderator, now, what I'm about to say is hearsay on part of it. I've been told that city administrator is teaching Islam in their school system. Now, if that's so, eventually he'll come to Carter County School District. Now, if we can't teach the students about the Lord, why would we want to teach about Islam? So I want to make a motion that we pass a private act forbidding anything like that coming into our county.
Mr. Harden, could you please address that?
We can't, to my knowledge, sir, pass a private act regulating what is taught in the schools here.
Why?
Well, that's the state, my understanding is the curriculum in the schools is approved through state process. It's nothing we can manipulate here in county government, what's taught in our schools. That's my understanding. I can certainly research it further if you desire.
Well, there'll be some kind of law that we as commissioners can protect the students. What are we down here for? See? If we just let the state come down and the federal government come in and teach anything they want to, and here we can't do what we want to, and then here they're gonna come over and talk of us and teach some kind of something that ought not be taught. I don't think that's right.
Mr. Lewis, I understand and I appreciate your concern. Unfortunately, I think I have to agree with the attorney. That's outside of our scope. That would be the Carter County Board of Education, and they're the people that are the stewards of our children and what's being taught there. We as county government have virtually no say in that matter.
We need that.
Maybe the attorney could look at that and if there's an avenue, but right now, to my knowledge, and I think it's the interpretation of the attorney that there's no avenue available to us, and that's outside of our scope. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. McQueen.
One thing I think I got excited, I forgot to mention rules and bylaws, is we did form a committee to accumulate an actual guidebook for the rules and bylaws. So I was just asking any commissioners that have any previous minutes or any resources pertaining to the establishment of that guide, please forward them to me or any of the other members, or of course the chairman, Mr. Jenkins.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Ward.
I just wanted to bring to attention to the county commission, you know, this meeting was pretty short. We're all glad. But there is a way we can make this meeting short by introducing the electronic roll call. It's something I think we really need to look into. Mayor Humphrey sent out some emails to some of us to look at it, and I'd like for him to maybe bring the guy who's over electronic roll call in and let us see how it works. See if it's something that we might want to do. Because, you know, it saves a lot of time. It's very, very professional looking. It'll make the county commission look like we're doing our job, and eliminate some of the voting that some of us may or may not do because we're letting sit beside us. I just feel like it's something that we need to bring to the county to look at. We do have a county, if I'm not mistaken, in Tennessee that has electronic roll call. It's something I like to ask Mr. Humphrey to bring forth.
I would be glad to do that, provided the commission is in agreement. I think what I would propose initially, since it's quite a distant location between where we are and where the actual company that manufactures the device, we could do a workshop, if you're agreeable. And I've gotten several responses back, in addition to Mr. Ward, that was favorable for that. Is it the wishes of the commission that we set up a workshop as soon as we can possibly coordinate that, to look at the system and investigate the possibilities or disadvantages?
Do you have an idea of the cost?
Basic cost on that system now is about $10,000. That's a base system. It can go up to 20. Keep in mind, when we looked at this 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, the basic cost was $6,500. But when you look at the image that we project, the professional image that we want to put out to the community, that's what we need to look at. And I know money's a factor, it always is. But Hawkins County, for one, was able to get those funds provided by people in the community. And I'm not saying that that could be done here, but that's an option. But you need to look at the system first. You need to be able to have the module in your hand and go through some trial runs before you commit. And we can do that in a workshop setting, provided that's what this commission would want.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I make the motion that we go ahead and have this workshop.
I'll say,
I have a motion made by Mr. Trivett, second by Mr. Jenkins. Let's go ahead and call a roll on that. Madam Clerk, if you would, please. All in favor of setting up a workshop to evaluate and assess roll call pro, please respond by saying aye. Those opposed, no.
Beaver Peters.
No.
Willie Campbell.
No.
Jerry Crockett. Nancy Brown. Mike Hill.
Aye.
Almy Hand. Ronnie Crivitt. Charles Cannon. Elsie Chester. Isaiah Brown. Danny Ward. Ross Garland. Timothy Hogan. Bobby Dees. Randall Jenkins. Larry Miller. John Lewis. Ray Lyons. Sonia Coler. No. Scott Semmerly. Cody McQueen. Robert Carroll.
Aye.
Robert Goff.
Aye.
Three no's and rest of them, yeah.
Motion passes. I'll set that up as soon as possible, and then we'll send out a notice as to the date and time of the workshop. It's my understanding we can get the equipment, the bulk of it sent here. It won't be a total system, but it will be interactive, and we can work it that way. Any other commissioner comments? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Sheriff Lunsford and Chief Deputy Parrish for the email we got about the dump site. I think on Heaton Creek and Walnut Branch, something like that. I thought they did a really good job of very timely fashion of pursuing that matter and taking care of that. I'd just like to commend them for their efforts on that.
Thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate your efforts, and it's so great when we work together and respond timely and address these issues, so good job. Any other, Mr. Carroll?
Could I just ask where one of our colleagues is with Mr. Pugh? I'm not sure if I've seen her in the meeting since she was there.
Mr. Ward, do you want to respond?
I can speak on her behalf. She's been in Florida in a training class the last 2 months. I did email her or text her today and ask her where she was, and she said that she thought it was tomorrow. So that's all I can.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk to you about some garbage. You know, when you take away something in the community, stuff starts happening. I believe you said you emailed them a copy of these pictures. Was dumped along the Eaton Frank and Warning Mountain Road. Garbage. You know, If people ain't got a place to put their garbage, it would be this thing. They took away our substation up there, just where it goes. Well, we all tourism coming in there, who wants to pay riding across the mountain to see garbage? You're not gonna get, it's just on, this Range Road, one of them, it's all over Carter County.
Mr. Miller?
We need to get this stopped.
Yeah.
You know, Benny, he putting off, and this person approached me with the same subject. He said, Doc, did you have a bathroom down there where you had? I said, no. Did you have a concrete pad? I said, no. He said, what's the reason a man can't set his vehicle over there and put a dumpster in there and open that thing? And he said, if they have to use it, Portage Johnny come over to the store or restaurant, ML Jacks, and use the bathroom. He said, we need this stop. He said, not giving him more money, but let him open it up. He said, you have no pad board down there?
Mr. Miller?
He said they could put a dumpster in there and let a man sit in his vehicle and take one.
Commissioner Miller?
And I've got a witness sitting outside especially when we take it.
Mr.
We
Wood?
didn't get them all.
Well, we appreciate you bringing that to the commission. We distribute those out. Action's been taken. I think the sheriff's department has worked on that already, so it's been addressed very timely. We appreciate that, you bringing that to our attention. Benny?
Thank you for recognizing me. I did go with Lieutenant Fritz and Sergeant Trivett to look at the garbage that was found on the mountain. The trash was hauled all the way from Stony Creek. We found names in it. It was brought from Stony Creek to Walker Mountain. And as far as the convenience center, I want to do it right. I don't want to halfway do what we're doing. We've got something nice, I want to do it right. And as for the state, you have to have a bathroom, you have to have room with water now if you open them. You can't just go throw something in there to make it work.
Well, thank you. There was one other, Mr. Hill, and then we'll end with that, I think. Mr. Hill?
Briefly, I'd just like to recognize that Becky Taylor is here from forgive me, it's not vocational education program, but the equivalent of that in the Carter County schools. And this project with the landfill and the dumpsters, I'd just like to mention what a rock star that the instructor down there, Sam Potter, has been. The vocational program, TCD, excuse me, and Mr. Potter were super willing to work on this thing with us, and it's a real good step in the right direction.
That's great. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.